Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for Driving Results. Our focus is weekly conversations around life and business relationships and the important leadership qualities for both. These concepts and qualities will help you drive positive results in both your business and personal lives. A weekly connection point to help business leaders develop individual contributors, managers, and executives on your teams. We also will tie in concepts around family focus and life lessons to help you drive success in your personal life. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast. Hope you're having an awesome day. It is the week after Father's Day, so my special day of the year has passed. I barbecued. Hope everybody had a great Father's Day. Just wanted to check in, remind everybody out on the website, at the membership site, is the unbelievable two-part series with retired Commander Kirk Lippold from the USS Cole that was bombed in the port of Aden in Yemen in 2000 by Al-Qaeda. They basically brought out a boat that they thought was going to empty garbage and hazmat material off the ship and detonated the equivalent of thousands of pounds of dynamite next to the side of the ship, killing 17 and injuring 37, and Commander Lippold goes through this unbelievable story of trying to save his crew, the men and women, the heroes, as he says, and the ship. And many people think of 9/11 as the start of terrorism, and it goes back decades before, unfortunately, back to the Iranian hostage crisis, really, when it started. Offsprings of that, Hezbollah and other organizations, of course, Al-Qaeda being heavily founded out of the Middle East as well. So please check it out. You can find this LinkedIn. You can find it, but also go out to our website, www.drleadershipresults.com. Check out the website. Check out the bio, those types of things, and then click on subscribe. And it takes you out to the Patreon site. It's $5 a month, folks. If you aren't willing to invest $5 a month for yourself, shame on you. Help a brother out. Also, please, I had a couple really good questions over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to touch on a couple of them today. Reach out at our email, and that is drleadershipresults@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you, positive, negative. Pop out there on the Apple podcast link or app and give us a review, give us some feedback. Having fun doing this thing. Hope you are as well. Had another great week of downloads. Pace picked back up. We got a big holiday weekend coming, so getting ready to release some other special content to try to drive some people towards that. God bless America. The 4th of July is coming. Will be actually have happened when this one is released. This will release the Wednesday after the 4th, so hope you had a great 4th. Today, I want to touch on something that's just been in the news, and I kind of tied this thing all together, and I'm calling this episode, Why Risk It? So you have heard me discuss over many episodes how you lean into things and attack what you're hungry for, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not saying don't chase dreams. I'm not saying don't aggressively go after things that inspire you. But what I am saying is don't push common sense and things out of your mind with elevated risk. What we're talking about today is over the last several weeks, we have seen a big example of money cannot buy common sense. And what I'm talking about here is the Titanic submersible, the Titan, disaster. And it's terrible, awful. The entire world watched with hope, with anxiety, that these 5 individuals, the captain, the CEO, and then 3 guests, billionaire guests that spent $250,000 apiece, would be found alive, would be rescued. The clock was ticking, running out of oxygen, etc. And this is a great example. Now, what we know, this fly-by-night organization, for lack of a better term, non-regulated product that they hopped in, was not ready to do anything even close to this. Actually, an interesting article I found, the original captain of the ship says it was never designed to go below 3,600 feet because it's made out of carbon fiber. It's not a steel device. It's not a a cylinder made out of steel that as it compresses, it gets stronger and stronger. It is made out of carbon fiber, and it was never meant to go this deep. Well, that guy was fired, and they came out and said, no, this thing can go 12,500 feet, and had survived a few trips down. However, in hindsight, everything has a point of failure. Airplanes, as an example, the steel and aluminum they're made out of, are only made to go up into the atmospheric pressure, the expansion and contraction of their fuselages, so many thousands of times before the stress weakens the components and you have to retire the airliner. They track how many times it's gone up into lighter atmospheres and lower atmospheres under pressurization. That's why your ears pop. They typically keep the airliner at somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 feet of atmospheric pressure inside, so your head and your ears don't blow out of your head, because the higher you go, the less atmospheric pressure you have. Air has weight. So when we're on the ground, air weighs about 14.7 pounds per square inch on your skin. You know what it weighs, what the water weighs on you per square inch at the Titanic depth? 5,600 pounds per square inch is what you're asking this product, this item to take you down there, needed to handle. The weight of water is incredible. I think we've all been at the beach some point in our life when a wave hits you, you aren't expecting it, and just drives you down in the sand on the bottom, and you lose your sunglasses, and you come up spitting salt water, and like, holy cow. So a amount of water, if you open up your oven, I heard this a long time ago, don't know if it's true, check it out, I don't care, it's got to be close. If you open up your oven and you would fill that cavity of your oven with water, that weighs 800 pounds. Now imagine 12,500 feet of 800 pounds stacked on each other. Every 33 feet you go down in the ocean, your atmospheric pressure doubles. Well, it goes up 1. So if you go down 12,500 feet, you're like 650, that's not quite right, what was it, 550 times that 14, whatever, it equals 5,600 pounds. Can't even remember my own math. I wrote it down. It's real. The Titan submersible disaster has demonstrated that the human psyche can at times put fame or notoriety above a person's own safety. This trying to be the one and only, or one of the few, to be able to be the best story at the cocktail party, drove these very rich individuals to make a decision to put themselves at risk. One of them, the father, was trying to be the cool dad. I get it. But took his 19-year-old son, snuffed his life out. 19-year-old son, gone, boom. Now, fortunately, I hope it was over quickly. You know, when everyone was watching it, we think the thing's just lost contact and can't get back to the surface, and it's resting on the bottom comfortably, slowly running out of air. In reality, this thing got down to, 3,500 feet or whatever it was, and the Navy now says that they heard it go boom the day that it happened. They had the sound on sonar and knew that they were probably in pretty big trouble. And I'm sure that they could feel something going on. There was probably a lot of creaking and cracking going on before this thing collapsed. But once it started, there was no stopping it. You couldn't pull the nose up quick enough to get you out of trouble. So just terrible. So let's review what we know about this thing. And again, it's about risk. Now, there is risk and reward measurements in everything you do in life. So I'm not saying sit in a cushioned chair with the doors locked and the lights down low the rest of your life. What I'm saying is you have to take some measurements of this and not be absolutely crazy. I don't understand jumping out of airplanes. Everybody says it's better. I've heard it's better than sex. You'll take your best sexual experience of life, put it on the manual, and you'll never touch it again. I just don't. I'm not buying that. I cannot find myself throwing myself out of a perfectly good airplane to get a rush. I don't know. I'd rather go to a rock concert, get that pumped up feeling that way. There's other ways for me to drive this adrenaline that they're after. But so a review. A guy named Stockton Rush developed this thing. The company is Ocean Gate Expeditions, a deep sea tourism company. And what they say this is part of a newer adventurer, in quotes, tourism fad. Put a bunch of money, and we will pay me a bunch of money, basically what this company does, $250,000 a pop, and we will put your life in a noticeably risky situation. That's what they signed up for. They signed these waivers that say, I think in 2 pages it says the risk of death 3 times. I don't know about you, but the risk of death, I mean, in reality, there's risk of death crossing the street. Crazy things happen. Tree falls on your head. Crazy things happen. But there's a very, 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 very low likelihood in comparison to hopping in a submersible that's not regulated and going down the Titanic. There's a difference there. Space tourism is another one. You saw these people hop on SpaceX and what is it, Blue Horizon, whatever the Bezos thing is. That's another big one. They're going up into space. I don't know, man. I just don't like the idea of being strapped on a friggin' bottle rocket. Things have happened. NASA had been doing it for years. Got a little O-ring, a little temperature change, and the first shuttle disaster happened. The next one, a piece of foam, the next accident, Columbia, a foam tile fell off on launch and impacted the front of the wing on this thing because it's made out of soft materials that are just glued on the wing to handle the heat. That thing fell off and on re-entry, burst through and blew them all up. They do it for years. They get billions of dollars of budget, and things go bad. We lost a whole set of astronauts burned to death because too much oxygen was in the capsule when they were trying to originally launch and get into space and head to the moon. I believe that was Apollo 11. 13 is the one that got stuck up in space. We've all seen the movie, Ron Howard movie. Billions of dollars of investment on those. This guy was, picking up cans basically to develop this thing. Rarely, if ever, do these companies face any type of government interference. The government gets involved under their own terms and regulates something once there's been a dramatic impact. Now you watch. You will see the governments get involved in regulating deep sea exploration as a tourism industry now. There are devices that are made to go that deep. The Mariana Trench, which is 36,000 feet deep, that's the deepest spot of the ocean. The average is about 12,000 feet. There's different zones. There's a zone where you can see light. I think that goes down like 650 feet. Then 650 to like 1,200 feet is another zone. And then 1,300 feet down to 13,000, I think is the nomadic zone, nomadic zone or something. That's where the Titanic is. And then there's 2 more depths and the Mariana Trench, 36,000 feet. Now this Hottish guy, one of the guys that died on this trip, actually has the record for the longest in the deepest part of the ocean, 2.5 miles, or 2.5 hours down, 6 miles down, 35,000 feet, 6.5, 7 miles down. I mean, think about that. That's the height of the airliner down under the water. And again, 14.7 pounds at the surface, and every 33 feet, you add another 14.7 pounds on. Tens of thousands of pounds per square inch. I want a piece of steel in a cylinder around me that's about 2 foot thick, not carbon fiber. Remember, carbon fiber is what these sports cars are made out of. It's strong, but compression strong? I don't know. But anyway, the government's going to get involved in regulation on this thing. We all saw the pictures. I mean, as soon as I'm getting in and he's got a TCL TV from Best Buy with an Xbox controller plugged in, wired with, electrical tape on the back to drive this thing, I think I go, you can keep the money. I'm out. I don't know about you. It's one thing that, cage dive with sharks. I think I'd do that because I'm in a cage. I'm attached to the back of the boat. I can climb out of the cage at any moment. I think there's a measurement there that's okay. If I see a shark coming that looks like Jaws, I'm going to get out, right? You also have spear guns. You have people on the surface. You can raise you up with a crane in a matter of seconds. You're strapped in. You're attached by a cable. Why does this submarine not have a cable attached to it? Now, some people say, well, the cable that'd be able to lift it would weigh tens of thousands of pounds trying to lift it up because of the length of it. 12,500 feet of cable weighs a crap ton of weight. So I don't know, man. Do you have just ballast tanks that if it starts to creak, you just pop it open and it fills the tanks with compressed air and you start to rise? Then you got to worry about the bends and things like that. I don't know what the atmospheric pressure was on the inside of the damn thing, but it's I'd probably do the cage dive. I'd maybe scuba dive. The deepest that's ever gone is like 1,090 feet, which is just after years of discovery and training. They don't recommend NOAA, Oceanic Atmospheric Association, doesn't recommend scuba diving past 130 feet. I have scuba dived. I've snorkeled. Those are all pretty good. But I don't know if I'd go 2 miles, 3 miles down in a home-built friggin' submarine. I just don't think I'd do that. It's a tin can with no safety measures. The people that participated here had more money than sense. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I've said that before. So in life, a risk versus reward or a risk measurement, you have to understand there's always risk. You can be struck by lightning. You can be hit in the head by a tree limb falling. A meteor can impact, right? I mean, crazier things. Tornadoes happen. There's risk. But man, I don't know if I'd just sign up and jump in on something like that. One of the passengers, as I said, is this, he's an explorer, Hamish Harding. His family said, now listen to this. This aggravated me. His family said they mourned his loss but felt comfort knowing he died doing what he loved. Being crushed instantly in a fly-by-night built can run with those Xbox controllers is not something I think anyone loves doing. Maybe he loved risk, but this is the one that bothered me. He lived for his family. I don't believe that's the case. He was living for his adrenaline rush. That I get. And I get it. Evel Knievel. Watched him growing up all the time. Broke 200 and some odd bones in his body. Died young. Strapped himself to a rocket. Almost killed himself going over the Snake River. Live on TV. Howard Cosell, I think, covered it. Pulled the chute too soon because he was scared, which I would be too. And the parachute opened a little bit early, and it pulled him down on the wrong side of the cavern that he was the abyss he was trying to go over. And fortunately, he landed on land. But I don't think this guy was living for his family. I don't think Hamish Harding thought, I'm doing this for my family. No, man, you were doing it for your ego. To do something like this, you want to be able to be at the cocktail party and go, so-and-so says, well, they've skydived, and so-and-so says, well, I've driven a dragster, and so-and-so says, well, I raced Formula One, and he goes, yeah, I friggin' went down to the Titanic. I win. Game over. Don't get it. Remember the old saying, YOLO, you only live once? It's a saying that at times should lead you to chase certain dreams and goals. I'm not saying that you don't lean into things and take on some risks. I took a risk years ago. I did a side project. I was building homes. I've always been in leadership, was still doing my white-collar job, and I decided in 2006 I'm going to start a home building business down in the Carolinas. $1 million homes, sell a few, boom, 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 making lots of money. It's great. Decide to put a couple up, and all of a sudden, guess what happens? Market crash, mortgage crash. Guess who got sucked into that? Me. Hundreds of thousands of dollars later to make it go away. I outlasted Lehman Brothers. Watched that special the other night. That's a good one. All these banks took all those huge risks. That's another thing that I don't want banks to do with my money is take huge risks. The whole world got caught up in that thing. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Banks went under. Wachovia went under. Lehman Brothers went under. Merrill had to be picked up. The list goes on and on. You have to measure this risk and be sensible about it. I'm not saying don't chase your dreams, but things like this, idiotic engagement should not be what comes to mind. So be careful as you determine what risks to take on and what risks not to take on. In life, learn that you can lean into hard things, chase building your dream, own the legacy at work, but proceed with some common sense. That's all I'm saying here. Why risk it? My wife is risk adverse. I'm risk adverse the older I get, right? My wife was a high-level basketball player for years. She doesn't still play, and the reason she goes and doesn't still play, and she quit playing at 27, 28 years old, any type of competitiveness, was because, as she says, I got through all those years of basketball, 15 odd years of competitive, high-end competitive Division I basketball, never tore an ACL, never tore a meniscus. Why risk it? Because the body isn't like it used to be. That's a good way to approach it. Example number 2 I'll give you on risk, just stupid stuff. Don't go down to Mexico and get butt lifts done when you're in cartel-controlled areas in Mexico. Remember the kidnapped and assaulted people here? It's only been like 4 months ago. They cross over into Mexico. They're going down for cosmetic surgeries for cheap. Another thing I don't want to save money on. Hey, let us cut into your face or your hind end and make you look just beautiful for only $99.95. Earl Scheib's paint job. I mean, are you serious? They get sucked up by cartel people because they're stupid and vain, and they're killed. And then the cartel killed the people and turned them in because the cartel knew, oof, that's a mistake. We don't want to start killing Americans coming across the border. Do some squats instead of paying some person down across the border to inject silicone in your hindquarters. Just head to the gym. Do some squats if you want a bigger bootay. I don't get some of these things. In your work life and your personal life, there's always potential risks. Again, I can't say it enough. Just kind of having some fun with this thing, but it just made me think about there's good risk and then there's stupid risk. Crossing the street has some measurement of risk. However, certain things, especially underregulated or not regulated at all, not well thought out, no safety measures, no way to cover the what if items should be avoided at all costs. Think about risk in finances. A risky investment does lead to wealth at times, but a steady, conservative, diversified investment approach carries much larger probability of success. Play the odds in life. I talk to my kids about this all the time. Don't try to find the next Tesla. Typically, I'll tell you the funny story, not a funny story, but a story. Back in like 98, 99, my first daughter had been born, and I was at a party in the neighborhood. And there were a couple of pharmaceutical reps. One was with Merck, another was with Pfizer, and they were, and the .com industry was going crazy. So everybody's getting involved in this .com industry and this .com industry. And what I mean by that is on the web. And what had happened is they were so excited about the potential of what they could be that no one was paying attention that these companies were not making a dime. They had no revenues. They had what they hoped would be revenues. Their balance sheets were like, hey, we only lost $12 million this quarter. Stock goes up. What? So I'd be sitting at these parties, and the Merck and pharmaceutical world was really involved in a lot of this technology development, the .com industry. And these guys are talking, and I'd been out working for 7 years, and they're talking like they got like $600,000 worth of stock value, and you need to jump in and get into this thing. It's going nowhere but up, nowhere but up, nowhere but up. 2 years later, collapse. These guys are worth $50,000. Back to reality. Oop, there goes gravity, as Eminem says. Think about risk and finances before you jump in on those things. Whenever you hear it's a hot stock tip, the gains have been made. 9.5 out of 10 times, promise you. All the money's been made. Let's use casinos as an example here. Companies don't build $1 billion resort, pay millions to have famous, bands set up residencies there without knowing the ROI is there, the return on investment is there. They've always said these big casinos aren't built on winners. They're built on losers. High-risk gamblers build these palaces in the desert. They prey on the dreamers of getting rich quick. They pump free booze into you. It's too good to be true. Always think about that. It's too good to be true. If you have to sign a waiver of accountability, your safety sirens should be going off on the damn submarine stuff, and you aren't going to get rich quick in a casino. Your body's equipped with this fight or flight thing in life for a reason. God's very, very smart, whatever that ultimate being is. They put these safety measures in for a reason, to protect yourself. It's your gut feeling. It's your spidey senses. I don't parasail. outside of America. U.S., it's regulated. True story, I was in Mexico in the 90s, and I watched a rope break on parasailers, and they crashed into the side of a hotel on a beachfront resort and fall, and one of them broke their leg. Sitting there watching it happen, like, ooh, ooh, and you think, well, they're on a parachute. It's not the same type of parachute. It lifts them up when they're under drag, but it doesn't work like a regular parachute. And when you hit the side of a building, guess what happens? That parachute collapses, and you slide down the building. It was unbelievable. They had signed a waiver. Now, what's crazy about this? This is what I mean by unregulated, knowing the risk, common sense setting in. 2 hours later, same boat pulls back up with a fresh knot tied in that rope that had broken, and they were back hauling unknown drunks into the skies. I mean, that's when I went, not going to do that anymore. That's on my too risky list. We're going down to Costa Rica here in a few weeks, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to zip line through the monkeys and the treetops. And I want to do it. I mean, I understand why you want to do it, but I need to look this thing over a little bit. I don't know. Some of those trees are 100 feet up, man. Something goes bad. And maybe there's triple wires or something, and maybe I can look at it. I bet you there's a waiver. I don't know. We'll see. Life is precious. Treat it that way, man. I'm not saying, again, don't have fun. There are lots of ways to get a rush without the high propensity of, the possibility of death. So why risk it? Fair rides. Nope. Not for me. You ever seen these toothless roadies who can't read? Or, they're in charge of my kids' safety? Now, high-end amusement parks, you go in, and there's always the one where the roller coaster got stuck halfway up the hill, or they're stuck upside down hanging, etc. But there's harnesses. That stuff is inspected several times a day. That's a better risk than the traveling roadies that are setting up the merry-go-rounds and setting up the roller coasters in 3 days with a set of tools on their hip, fair to fair around the country. I don't know. I'm just saying measure it out. That's all I'm saying in life. Measure out your risks. But, come on, man. High-end amusement parks, probably better risk. High-risk investments, like I told you. How about Bernie Madoff? Remember that story? Oh, you got to invest with Bernie. I'm getting 28%. Well, the market only returned 3% last year. How's he getting 28%? Bernie knows. Spidey senses need to go off, man. How about the cryptocurrency, FTX, Bankman-Fried? Jesus, these people. Promised unbelievable returns. Again, too good to be true. I promise if you were even told that it's a must-buy investment with big returns, the risk, too high. The likelihood of your getting rich is very low. The gains have been made already, man. Gained already. I had an interesting conversation about cryptocurrency with a good friend's now ex-wife last summer. And she asked me, it was an investment conversation. She goes, how much money do you need to be comfortably retired? And I gave her my number, and her eyes got real big. And she goes, you think you need that much? And I said, for what I want to do and my safety and my low risk on running out of money, I think that's what I need. And she goes, we don't have anywhere near that. I said, I don't yet, but the plan's in place. And she goes, do you have cryptocurrency in your portfolio? I said, nope, absolutely not. Well, everybody says you got to have 10% of cryptocurrency in your portfolio. You can't pass up the gains. And I go, everybody? I don't. How much money you got saved? She gave the number. I happen to be significantly more than that. No big deal. Her husband, very successful man, owns his own business. And I said, I just don't buy into that. Steady, I'm more the hare than the rabbit. Steady wins the race. If you invest consistently in and out, every single month, every single check, you're going to get there. Cryptocurrency at this time started at hundreds of dollars per coin that isn't regulated by banks, isn't accepted for payments everywhere. Everybody started getting cool. You had Tom Brady and these athletes that want to be these cool people invested, taking some of their compensation in crypto, out millions. The gains went up to, at one point, Bitcoin was like over $60,000 per Bitcoin. that people bought for like $150 or $250 or $350. All on nothing. It's computers, it's make-believe, it's zeros and ones, not regulated. So that person that told me this, I said, I would not do it. The risk is, why don't you? She asked. The risk is too high. I don't understand it. If I don't understand it, I'm not going to give my money to it. If I don't understand how something works, I'm not going to get on the ride. If I don't understand the adrenaline is worth the risk, I'm not going to do it. Now I look like a friggin' genius. 90 days later, the crypto world collapsed. Now, I'm not a genius. I just know what too good to be true looks like. I have made mistakes in the market buying in on something that is going to happen. I am like 1 and 5 on buying stocks, individual stocks. I own some individuals, but they're stalwarts. You're going into the commodity market. You're going into foods and things of this nature that are always going to be used. But man, I don't jump in with both feet anymore. I wasn't always this conservative. I've gotten that way over life. I want you to chase your dreams. I want you to go after what you think is inspirational to you. But I want you to be measured. If you're a parent, do not risk your life. You owe it to your kids. Wait until they're grown and out of the house, jump out of the damn plane. Wait until they're out of the house to get behind the dragster at the local car race place. Don't go doing this stuff when you have responsibilities for these chitlins, these kids. I want you to chase your dreams, but I want you to be around for a long time because you're awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.